The process is the horse and the impact is the cart, not the other way around. I think that's how what
Thank you, my friend.
The way we look at public problem solving is how can a young person solve a local issue when they just walk out of their house or school and try to take ownership of what they see, feel, or experience every single day. And when you're doing public problem solving, you interact with a lot of variables. This is not problem solving in a box, or it's not curated. And when you're trying to solve real issues, it's so dynamic in nature that your skills get tested at differing levels because the problem will not get resolved immediately. But what will end up happening is you'll build a muscle. A muscle of trying to solve day in and day out. And it's because you're either seeing the problem, you're experiencing the problem, or you're feeling for the problem. So it's not abstract. It's in close proximity with what you're doing. And when you're in a situation like this, it's like playing a sport. And nobody can deny that playing a sport or doing performing arts develops 21st century skills. So the way we look at public problem solving is it's a sport. You go out there and solve issues. And when you solve real issues, 21st century skills get built. What we have seen, and I'll make that very quick, is 4 very important skills when you're solving real issues. Grit, because you're failing more often than not. These are very structural problems. Community collaboration, how do you get the community involved? Entrepreneurial thinking, because you have to be constantly at it. But the 4th thing is what I would say is applied empathy. How do you apply empathy rather than think you all know about empathy? And these are the 4 skills we have seen when young people actually problem solve in the community. They go through a process of discovering a local issue. Then you investigate qualitatively and quantitatively. Then you solve. And like what Dina said, the focus is on the process of solving rather than the end result. And then finally you share. And what we have also learned is that young people want to build self-efficacy when they're solving a problem. So they want to be a persona they relate to, or they want to be a persona they want to be. So we have identified 5 types of personas. One is what we call as reporting rhinos. They report local issues and engage with the local government. We have campaign chameleons who run local campaigns and get the community involved. But then there are 2 types who say, we don't want to report, we don't want to campaign. So we call them hands-on hippos and techno tigers. They build solutions or use technology to solve real problems. And finally, once they reach a certain level, we call them action ants, wherein they try to weave everything together, policy, solutions, and the data. So that's the process we go through, wherein they go through discover, investigate, solve, share. They want to be one of these solve ninjas, or they say, I want to try this, I want to try that. But very similar to what Dina said, the focus is on the process and not the end outcome wherein a problem is solved, because most of these problems cannot be solved immediately. It requires years and years. So that's what Rebenefit does.
Interesting. We seem to have a nice visual on the screen. Would you like to describe more about that?
Yeah, very quickly, Rajshekhar comes from a public school. Started his journey building a low-cost water purifier with us in a competition. And then, once you start solving, then it's kind of addictive. Today, he's been in our community for 5 years. And recently, we observed that there were a lot of accidents happening because lights of the street lights in India were very poorly lit. So he's come up with a sensor which measures the light intensity. It goes on Google Map. And now young people are looking at this and questioning their elected representatives. So again, started very, very small, but denting very, very big. And that's the whole idea. I think the theater we have chosen for young people to solve issues is local, right outside your street, in your street, your neighborhood. So you're interacting often. And therefore, whether you're in school, outside school, you're still interacting, even if you give 10, 15 minutes. I think the divergence here is that we have consciously not weaved it in the curriculum because what we realized was, at least in India, when things get woven into the curriculum, then young people slot you as yet another class, which is, being jargony or, telling stuff. So we have actually taken a conscious effort of being the exact opposite. We are saying, this has nothing to do with curriculum. This is a way of life, being a public problem solver. And I think now when I look back 7-8 years, that's held us in good state. As soon as at least in India, if you make it about learning outcomes, it's a very competitive place, and then everybody just wants to solve the issue
better than the other.
and
Yeah.
we don't want to propagate that.
Very
So
similar.
that's a slight divergence in a context like India, and that also creates a pull, Siddharth. So what happens is then young people for the first time are seeing something which actually is not, you're not being judged on an output. My marks will improve. Oh, I'm just doing something because I can do. And that's, I think, the larger mindset we want to have. I don't want us to fall into the trap of saying if you solve problems, you'll become employable. Again, you're defining a goal, and then we are looking at the probably propagating that same problem. Of course, it happens. There's enough research now.
Seems like a nice goal to have, though.
But sometimes then the ends define the means. And while the two of us are talking about the process, wherein the means is very, very important. Once you have an end saying somebody becomes employable, then the means start getting curated. Then I start defining that you have to do this, which will make you employable, right? So keeping that context in mind, what we have seen, there is a lot of secondary research which supports it, but I think the world needs problem solvers. It's simple, right?
Empathetic problem
That's it.
solvers,
In your street, in your neighborhood, in your city, in your country, be it education, be it environment. And if you have a problem-solving mindset, you will thrive. It's like asking a kid who's playing sports or learning music, how will that help you in future? Like, I might not be a football player, but learning football is going to help me somewhere. So I think that's definitely there. There is research. What we have seen, unintended consequences. We have seen a lot of our young Sol Ninjas contesting local elections. We have seen them become entrepreneurs. So that's happening. But we don't want that to be the center of our story. It is a lot of people taking action. And even if you're a leader in your daily life, that's leadership in itself. So that's important for us. We have classified it as individual, collective, and systemic. At an individual level, it is how many young people have taken an action for the first time and how consistently they're doing it, and correlating that with increase in 21st century skills. The collective impact is more solutions, more innovations, more campaigns, environmental savings. And systemic impact is increased citizen engagement and increased understanding of climate change. Right? So we have it. So it's like we are good cooks. We believe in the process of cooking. But then if people ask us for the impact, we like have the dish and everything is ready with the ingredients.
Wow, that tastes
So,
amazing. Yeah.